What is happening? I am Brendan Schaub. You're listening to the Big Brown Breakdown. We have one full day, Chin, my friend. We have a full day. It started with an early morning workout. Right now I'm in studio at the Fire and Kids Studios, a.k.a. Big Brown Breakdown Studio. It's all the same. Knocking this out, and then we will drive on down to Studio City. Is that fair to say? Universal City. Sorry, yeah. Big difference. Universal City, where Mario Lopez shoots his extra show and all his other things. He might be the busiest man in the entertainment business, but the guest today will be Mario Lopez, and we will talk Chavez Jr. and Canelo, the big fight this Saturday on HBO pay-per-view. And he's really close to the Chavez family. I know that. So it's going to be interesting because I have my thoughts on what's going to happen to Chavez. So it's going to be interesting. But I'm excited, man. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. We know a lot of the same people. And, if anyone's busier than I am, it's that dude. He's so goddamn busy. It's not even funny. So this has been a long time coming. And it just lined up perfect with my schedule, his schedule, right before this huge boxing fight on Saturday. So I'm excited for that. So doing the first portion of the Big Brown Breakdown in my studio in Playa Vista. Then Chin and I will drive over to Universal, basically Universal Studios, that's what it is. And we'll go and shoot the interview with Mario Lopez there. And so his team records the audio, sends us that portion. Mm-hmm. Chin gets the video, so you guys get that. And then I go straight from there to Hollywood, which is kind of opposite end of that, to Hollywood, and I'm breaking down on NFL Network the top 10 plays of the year. And boom, that's the day. I'm excited, man. I like being busy, but things are good. And then I just got so we're doing that On It collab work where they were with me for the week for the Big Brown Breakdown live show at my very first one at the Ice House in Pasadena, and they were with me prior to that with the Stone Cold Steve Austin, which is the launch of the new channel and a photo shoot. But they got all this kind of mini docu-series type of coverage, and they just sent me the final draft, and I just okayed it, and I'm stoked for you guys to see it, man. I get emotional seeing it. It's kind of weird. But, yeah, so I'm stoked on that. And then, Fire and Kid yesterday was interesting. The power went down. So if people do complain about the audio, it's off the video. So it might not be as good. But I listened to it. It's still, you get what we're saying.
It's not great, but.
It's not great, but it fucking hey, man, no power just off that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you guys still did it. So.
Yeah, we're just trying to get you guys content. I mean, those that complain, Jesus. And also, I see the complaints. My brother sends them to me. I see the complaints were like, dude, LeBron James and this high-level athlete use cryotherapy, man. You're dead wrong. Listen, that's all they're doing there is honey-dicking you. There are some athletes who use it, and to each his own. If they believe that works and mentally, they think it's it might work for them. But if you look at all the scientific research, it doesn't back it up really. You can find certain studies and pull and yank just like conspiracy theorists do with flat earth and all that other bullshit and JFK. You can pull all that stuff and you can make a good argument. I get that. You don't need to send that stuff to me. With LeBron James, he's used it. He owns shops where they use it. He's an investor in the cryotherapy. So that's where that comes from. But you'll see more times than not, people are using ice baths. Now there's even research that says ice baths, cryotherapy, neither one of them work. That icing your body, I think for inflammation it works. I really do. But there's research that says neither of them work. That, if you work your body hard, there's really nothing you can do. You can flush out the lactic acid. That's why I don't agree with those. And I know for an athlete with, let's say add up high school, so 4 years, 5 years of college football, that's 9. 1 year in the pros, that's 10. And then a 7-8 year MMA career, so that's 18 years.
It works for you.
Worked for me.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't work for everyone, so, but from my experience, the guys I know, the high level guys I know, most of them would agree with me. But to each his own, man. If it works for you, it works for you. I'm not hating on it. I don't buy this new, this new scientific stuff, and I think there's a way to go about things. I don't think that's it. And there are athletes, but remember, there's an agenda behind it. typically. They have an investment. They own certain shops. They invest in these cryogenic chambers, stuff like that. Or they might be doing both, So, because how many posts have you seen of people jumping ice baths? Okay, we've seen that. So now the new thing is to do that, Mm-hmm. So that's where that comes from. But, yeah, man, I mean, this episode, the UFC's taking a little bit of a break because they're leading up to that big UFC 211. It's 211, right, in Dallas?
211,
yeah. So that card's just stacked. So we won't break down this episode. They'll probably come, the week of the fight. But so they take a little break, to build that up. And, Bellator does the same with their huge Madison Square Garden fight. It makes sense because you want people – it's so weird in today's mixed martial arts kind of world. There's always something going on. And then when there's not, we complain. When there is, it's too much. So it's this weird balance. I don't envy those guys trying to figure that out. But it does leave you wanting more when they don't give you fights. So I'm excited for UFC 211. But, boxing's carrying the torch right now. You had Anthony Joshua last week versus Klitschko, which was an amazing fight. And I was reading some stuff about the numbers, which I'm sure we'll get into in current events, which it proves how big of a draw those guys are and how boxing's not dead. And then this Saturday, the huge around Cinco de Mayo weekend, you got Canelo versus Chavez Jr. And, I'm be curious to see the numbers on that. I wonder if it does bigger numbers than Joshua Klitschko.
Is it supposed to be bigger?
I would assume because Canelo – in general, as far as he's the pay-per-view monster right now. He's the biggest guy in sports. Oh. He's the A side to every fight now.
Gotcha.
He's the A side to every fight. Joshua, for the most part, is the A side, but it's a different A side. It's just you're talking about two different worlds. But if you break down black and white, you're looking at numbers, pay-per-view numbers. Who's the bigger draw? Well, Joshua over there killed it, but then Tyson Fury versus Klitschko, something like 8.9 million people watched that because it was free over there. So those numbers are always tricky. But, it's probably the safe route to go to say Canelo's the kingpin of pay-per-view right now. He still is. Because think how long he's been fighting. He fought Floyd Mayweather. I think he fought Floyd Mayweather, or maybe it was Cotto when he's 21 years old. He's young, man. And to make it even more interesting, so Canelo's one of 6 children, I believe. One of 6, one of 7. A lot of them are boxers, and the one's pro, and he fought Chavez Jr.'s little brother. Okay. Last week, and Chavez beat him. So it just adds fuel to the fire. There's a picture of Chavez Sr. just all up in the camera.
Oh, I saw that picture.
You see that?
I thought it was like a photoshopped picture of his head, but I don't know.
It's so interesting, man. And with that fight, it's, I'll get into it with Mario Lopez, but to me, it's not, we did the collab shirt with Roots Fight. It's best of the best of Mexico. Well, Canelo's the best of the best. He represents Mexico as far as boxing. Granted, he's a redhead with he's white as shit. I look more Mexican than he does. But he's from Guadalajara. He represents Mexico to the fullest. He has that Mexican spirit where, it's all kind of the story behind this. That you would think that Chavez Jr. would be kind of the representative of Mexico, but he's really not, man. Because, Canelo's more of the Mexican traditional way of, when I say traditional, the way he grew up. One of 6 or one of 7 children. We need to figure that out. But I think he's one of 6 children. Grew up kind of poor. Boxing was his way out. He has the boxing spirit. He grew up in Guadalajara. Chavez Jr. grew up. Chavez Sr. is your dad, the most famous Mexican athlete of all time, the greatest Mexican boxer of all time. I mean, when he would fight, you're talking about thousands of people in these arenas. If you've ever seen the picture, it's nuts, man. Nuts of him fighting live in Mexico. It's crazy. He's regarded as the greatest Mexican boxer of all time. Think about the tradition of Mexican boxing. That's your dad. So he grew up in that. You're talking about completely different worlds.
Yeah.
So I think in that respect, it's hard for actual Mexican boxing fans to respect him off that. And then the other big cursor here is he has discipline issues. Well, what rich kid doesn't when you grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth? So Freddie Roach fired him from working with him in his camp because he would miss weight. He would miss workouts. He was smoking weed nonstop. Freddie, if you remember that count, and he flew out to Mexico to find him. He wasn't there. Oh, shit. So he flew back. Was like, fuck this, man. So I think, if you're a middle class or lower class Mexican citizen, or even if you're Mexican American, which my girlfriend is and her family is, they don't really relate to Chavez Jr. They really don't.
It doesn't represent what a real Mexican person.
No. Does Jaden Smith represent what young Americans feel when he has dresses on and he talks about this weird shit? No, you're just going to grow up a little bit different. Now, kudos to him that he decided to pursue fighting, and he's really, really talented. He's insanely talented. I think his record, you can bring up his record, I think he's 33-2 or some shit like that. And he's killing himself to make weight, and they show an update of his freaking weight where he's at right now, and it's like every other week, like he's getting there, and it's a fucking look at him. He's 50-2. 50-2. He's 50-2, man. And his two losses are to monsters. So he lost the WBC middleweight title to Sergio Martinez, who's one of the greatest middleweights of all time, and also my personal favorite fighter of all time. And then he lost to Fanvara, who's a huge fucking light heavyweight, who was way too big for him. I don't know why he took that fight. That was in StubHub Center in California. I remember that. I almost went to that fight. And that was just a bad night for him. But the guy was just way, way too big. But that's that Mexican culture where they welcome all comers. Yeah, and it's, he's had his hiccups because in against Troy Rowland, really he won a unanimous decision, and it was a 10-rounder. But he failed a drug test after, so it was ruled a no contest. And he's missed weights. He's missed weight several times, and so I think that's why people have a hard time rooting for this guy. Like, he does not represent Mexico. If you talk to any Mexican, he's not the representative of the country. When as far as it comes to boxing, now he's fucking good. Like, look at his record, 50-2. So he's doing something right. He also has his dad's skill set to a certain point. He doesn't have that X factor that his dad had, but he didn't grow up like his dad. So that's one of the kind of the downfalls of growing up rich and privileged. You're not going to have that same sort of drive. But he also has this huge looming shadow of his father over him. And which is, in kudos to, I'm not shitting on Chavez Jr. on this episode, but I'm just breaking things down the way I see this fight going down. I think Chavez Jr., to his defense, his dad fought pressure fighter. Like, plant the feet, very Mexican style, a lot of pride, fucking guns a-blazing. That's why we loved them. And Chavez Jr. has footwork. He can sit on the outside. He can box, man. He can straight up box. Like, he started doing it from his kid. He doesn't have to fight that style. Not that his dad can't, but that's what his dad was famous for. So he takes on the persona of his father. A lot of times I see fights where, man, sit on the outside, use your jab, set things up, throw combinations in and out, use your footwork, use your cardio. But either he had a tough time making weight, or his default is, my dad's Chavez Sr. Let me do that. So you see a lot of times he gets in trouble because he has that mindset. So this fight I go back and forth on. The other thing is, for a long time, like, God, Chavez Jr. is so much. He's way bigger than Canelo. He's a bigger human being. Mm-hmm. Now the fight night, they're actually going to weigh the same. Whether he makes that weight, I don't know. But probably a month ago, if you would ask me, I said, I honestly think Chavez Jr. is probably going to win this fight. I really do. I think he's the bigger man. He can box on the outside. He's finally serious about this fight. I was going back and forth. And then there was just a little thing that tweaked it for me. I was watching a fight, and he was in his corner. And I saw a little bit of ounce of quit in him. And then the other thing that I saw was, if you watch the sit down, the face off with Max Kellerman on HBO, have you seen that?
No.
That's my point to who represents Mexico, who's the best of Mexico. Max Kellerman's in the middle, Canelo's to the left, Chavez Jr.'s to the right. Chavez Jr. really won't even look Canelo in the eye, and he speaks in English while Canelo only speaks Spanish. So I have to translate for Canelo. Chavez Jr.'s, I understand being a gentleman, being polite, and then there's being a bitch. You watch this, you're like, oh, because, Max Kellerman's there to stir the pot. And he'll go, do you think Canelo represents Mexico boxing? He's like, well, no. And he goes, that's not what I think. That's not what I say, though. That's what they say. That's what the Mexican culture. And he would never take ownership of his words. He'd always go, well, again, it's not me, but boxing would say you kind of pick and choose and you take the easier fights. You make people come to you. Like, it's not good, man. But real boxers don't do that. My father would never do that. But he won't look at Canelo. He's only looking at Max Kellerman. And then he's going, but I don't, that's not me. That's not me saying it. That's what they say. He kept saying that. And then you go to Canelo. This motherfucker is, first of all, his beard's lined up like I've never seen before. He looks like a blackjack dealer. He has just the fucking top on, the suit. And he is fucking muy caliente eyes through fucking Chavez Jr., not taking his eyes off of him, only speaking Spanish, and goes, first of all, you do not represent Mexican boxing for many, many of reasons. List through like all the bullshit. And then he just goes on to say, like, I don't even respect him. He goes, I don't even respect the guy. I don't know how you could because what Chavez Jr. has done. And he's literally looking through him. And then, Max Kellerman goes, do you think you're going to stop him, Chavez Jr.? Do you think you're going to stop Canelo? He goes, I don't know. It's boxing, man. I hope I do, but it's boxing. You can never tell. And Canelo has no chill. Looks him in the eye and goes, that's bullshit. I saw an interview. Said, you knocked me out in 8. Nice. Said, you knocked me out in 8. He goes, that's bullshit. He goes, I will bet you my entire purse, anything you want right now, I knock you out. He goes, bet on it. I will bet you anything in the world. I will bet you my entire purse against yours, I knock you out.
What did he say?
And Chavez like, kind of swallows, goes, all right, because what are you going to do? Yeah. Nah, man, I'm not doing that. He was like, obviously the commission's not going to sanction it, and it's not going to work that way, but, Canelo's 100% in. And Chavez Jr.'s like, oh, deal, bro. And he shakes his hand, then back to someone's like, well, there you have it. And you're like, fuck. Canelo goes hard on him. You got to watch it, man.
I remember
you got to watch it, and
clip.
I was like, oh, Chavez, no. Chavez ain't ready.
They make them sit super close to each other too, right?
It's like a table like this, and the chairs are faced back.
Yes.
Obviously no pun intended, but or comparison, very AC Slater like. AC sat in every chair. That's how they're sitting in Max Kellerman's.
That's a good description.
Yeah, there you go. So that's how they do it. But I watched that, and I've been following his weight cut and all that, and how he's serious now. It's just like, I got my thoughts on it, man. It's going to be interesting with Mario if he defends Chavez Jr. pretty hardcore.
I'm going to guess he's family, or he's friends of their family. He's got to defend them, right? Yeah,
and I get that, man. And honestly, like I said, for a while, I was like, God, I really think Chavez Jr. could do this. I don't think the pressure's on Canelo. I think the pressure's on Chavez Jr. Canelo's already the biggest star in boxing, if not... He's definitely one of them, but he's the biggest Mexican star in boxing, hands down. The pressure on Chavez Jr., because everyone looks at you like the spoiled kid of the legend, and this is your big fighting who most people think is the real Mexican fighter here. The pressure's on him, not Canelo. That's where all the pressure comes from, man. So, should we jump to some current events?
Yeah, since we're on boxing, let's go ahead and jump to that thing you were talking about before, where the Joshua Klitschko card was apparently, early numbers are showing that it's probably going to be the biggest boxing match ever.
Damn. That's heavyweight for you, man. People tune in. And remember, it was shown at 1 p.m. in the afternoon in America. Obviously, that's just not American numbers here, but... So he put promoter Eddie Hearn insists the fight broke Sky box office records in the United Kingdom and Ireland. We broke the British box office records on pay-per-view last night. 5 live the morning after the fight. Okay.
And then he goes on to say it's already beaten the 1.5 million for Manny Pacquiao against Floyd Mayweather.
He said, we can't tell you the number last night because it's too early, but the record was 1.5 million for Manny Pacquiao against Floyd Mayweather. That's the record overall. Doesn't matter where you live. That 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, man, that's $100 too. So you still kind of give the nod to Manny Floyd. But that 1.5 million Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, that was the biggest. And he says last night we beat that for sure. Wow. According to Boxing Scene, an average of 659 viewers tuned into Showtime's live run of the fight, while early signs indicate that an incredible 687,000 tuned in during the period between rounds 5 and 6. Wow. So that's so interesting. People tune into it when someone gets knocked down.
It is. It's like that Forrest Griffin
momentum kind of thing. People call their friend like, dude, you got to watch this fight.
Yes.
That's how it happened with
the finale when they were beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, the Ultimate Fighter finale on Spike. That's what kind of boomed the UFC. Like, if you look at milestones, that was one of them. Because as that fight was going back and forth, people would call their friends, you got to watch this, dude. These two guys are beating the shit out of each other. What channel? Spike. Boom, boom, boom. And the next thing you know, it's fucking huge. Jeez. The network confirmed that 10.4 million people tuned into the contest. Service, which is significantly higher the figure than the 8.9 million who watched Fury's victory over Vladimir Klitschko. Damn, I knew it was big. I didn't think it'd be that. I didn't think it'd be the biggest pay-per-view of all time. The biggest draw of all time. But again, another kind of caveat there, a little asterisk, is Mayweather, Pacquiao, they're both past their prime, and it was $100.
The $100 thing is pretty crazy.
$99.99 HD. I don't know if they even offered SD. I'm sure they did, but either way, not cheap. But still, if that breaks those pay-per-view numbers, that's insane. Well, and then he'd be the kingpin. Canelo Floyd. I don't know what they did. Can you look that up? I don't think Canelo Floyd did too great because at the time everyone thought it was such a mismatch because Canelo was so young and so much bigger than Floyd. They didn't think you'd hit him. There you go, pay-per-view buys.
$2.2 million?
No, because that'd be the biggest of all time. Hold on. Along with pros, Mayweather dominant decision shattered all-time record for highest grossing pay-per-view fight of all time, generating $150 million in revenue from $2.2 million pay-per-view buys. So but then 2.48 million pay-per-view buys. So what the fuck was Mayweather and Pacquiao? Because that's supposed to be number one of all time. So that's saying it was
2.5, I think. Let me double check.
I thought it was. Yeah, go ahead. Type in Pac-Man. Pac. There it is. $3.7 million. Whoa.
Eclipses 4.4 million pay-per-view buys.
Wow. And they're saying Joshua beat that?
Unless there's different ways of, calculating this.
Well, but you know areas. What? Those are just early estimates.
Right,
like they don't have it for sure, but these are probably early estimates. This is after it's said and done, the fact that after it's all done. And they're saying Joshua's going to be beat 4.4 million buys. Jesus Christ.
Let's go through here again.
Obviously, you can't watch Pacquiao Mayweather live. I think in the Philippines you can, so we don't have those numbers. But you're talking two uber superstars.
Yeah, I don't understand. It says record was 1.5 million for Pacquiao against Floyd.
Maybe he's just referring to the UK, right? Maybe he's just referring to the United Kingdom, England.
Yeah, you might be right because they were saying it was breaking records.
But I think he said just on Sky Sports. Mm-hmm. Be interested to see the final numbers. Either way, boxing's not dead. Sweet, man. What else you got? A lot of
outside of boxing. Okay, Robert Whitaker. He says he's actually thinking he's in a position right now to wait for a title shot. And the reasons are he beat someone in Jacare he was not supposed to win against, who was probably next in line outside of Romero to get a title shot. He beat him, and then also Bisping called him out as well. So he has two of those things under his belt. So he feels like, what's the harm in waiting? He has all the time in the world since he's super young, so he could wait it out if he wanted to.
I mean, I like it, and I love that way of thinking, especially as a businessman. I like, if you're going to get a title shot, you should 100% wait, a la Jacare. I'm sure we'll see with Damian Maia. But has anyone guaranteed him a title shot?
No. I think he's just throwing this out there to make some waves.
So let's just go over this young Whitaker, who is my favorite fighter in the middleweight division now. I'm on his nuts now. I'm on his kangaroo nuts now. But so you got Bisping is the champ, who's supposed to fight GSP that they haven't announced a fight or when.
Date. Yeah.
They have nothing. So you got to wait for that to get figured out. The guy in front of you is Yoel Romero. He would definitely, you're not going to leapfrog him. If anything, you'd fight him for an interim title, which I like his chances. I like Whitaker against Yoel Romero there. Now, as far as waiting for the title shot, if they guaranteed it to you, which we've seen them do to Miesha Tate and several other fighters, and it doesn't work out, I don't know if it's the best play. I think his play, because I don't think he's in line for a title shot.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. Like that, unless the UFC official, and even then I'd have super skeptical hippo eyes. Unless the UFC official was like, "Yeah, you're guaranteed the next title shot." All this talk doesn't even make sense. I understand waiting for a title shot. If you're guaranteed it, that makes sense. And if it's a time race, they're not going to win. Correct. Yoel Romero's old as fuck. Bisping's not young, and his eyes fucked up. GSP's not young, but they haven't announced that fight. So you have two major fights they have to figure out before you're even in contention. If you win one more, then I think. And I don't is Anderson Silva Yoel thing on here?
Yeah, it's on here.
So I'll wait for that. But if anything, Whitaker should be going after Yoel right now, because you're not leapfrogging Yoel. That ain't happening. You're not going to leapfrog Romero. Romero's next in line no matter what. I would assume. They still have to figure out what they're going to do with GSP, though. They don't know. And they said that could be as late as October now. September, October. Okay, so let's say you wait for that Whitaker. And then let's say that after that, then Yoel. Then you're looking at at the earliest, mid-2018 before you fight next. That doesn't seem like a good idea. And then you're not even guaranteed a fight. Because if Rockhold jumps in that bitch, his next one knocks the dude out, he's right up there too. And then you're looking at maybe an interim title with, Yoel, or you're looking at a Rockhold fight. And out of those two, the best matchup for him would probably be Yoel. I think Whitaker beats anyone in the top 5. I'm on this dude's Australian nuts now. I'm fucking sounding the horns for him. Put another shrimp on the Barbie, as they say out there. Which I'll have news for you guys about the live tour in Australia coming soon. Keep those fucking koalas with chlamydia off of me, though. Keep them away, man.
And wet koalas.
Yeah. So he's talking the talk. I like it. He just dismantled Jacare. But unless someone's in his ear and his manager's telling him, they said you're next in line. There's too much red tape to cut through. GSP, Bisping, Yoel Romero, interim belt. If Rockhold has a fight coming up, there's just a lot of X factors. Musasi, there's a lot of things you got to do before I think you're guaranteed that shot. But I like where his head's at, and I hope it happens for him.
Does it help him at all, just throwing this out there? Or does it piss people off?
It doesn't piss people off. He's saying the right things. No one's getting pissed. For him, it's good to stay in the media. We're talking about him now. If he didn't say this, no one's talking about him.
Good point. Well, moving on from this, right to what we were talking about. Not that one. So this, Yoel Romero and Anderson Silva, they were on MMA Hour. And then Ariel did his thing where he had one guy in. I think he was talking to Anderson Silva, and then Yoel called into the show. And they're both, I guess they must have pre-planned this, because they're both saying Anderson was supposed to fight at 212. It's not his fault that people dropped out. They can't find an opponent.
Kelvin, yeah.
And then on top of that, Yoel's like, I'm next in line, but if I'm going to fight anyone, it would be for an interim belt against Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva said the same thing, and he went off saying, if they don't give me this interim belt against Romero or someone at in 212 in Rio de Janeiro, he's going to retire.
I mean, don't threaten us with a good time. It's like, I love Anderson as much as the next guy. I think he's one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest. But I'm not trying to see him fight again, man. I didn't enjoy him fighting against Brunson. I didn't enjoy his fights against Weidman. I think, it's the end of the road for him. Okay, so, certain guys came after him. Remember, Rockhold was like, I'll fight him. Anderson's like, yeesh, that's a terrible matchup. Yoel's an awful matchup, too.
I'm surprised he wants to fight Yoel.
I guess for an interim title, and I don't know, because maybe he sees holes in Yoel's game that he doesn't see in Rockhold's. But for Yoel Anderson, I like it. I guess I like it, especially for Yoel. Like, while they're figuring out what the fuck they're going to do with Bisping and GSP, they don't really know. So this gets him an interim belt. They're giving these interim belts out like fucking Skittles.
Well, they're just saying it, but no one said that they're going to get an interim belt. So the way he was calling out the UFC and Dana White was pretty harsh too. He was cussing for the first time. I've never heard him cuss. Anderson, he was like, F this, F that, and I'm just tired of it.
Fuck you, man.
Done.
Yeah.
That's more Asian, I think. But
was that
kind of Asian?
My friend. Fuck you, Dana White, my friend. Sorry.
It's all good. But yeah, so that's the first time I heard him cuss. And he's saying he's going to retire if they don't give it to him. And then Yoel Romero said he's not going to fight anyone unless it's Anderson Silva for the interim title. Or for the title, which is not happening.
I mean, Yoel has some, actually, he's Yoel Romero. He's next in line. So it carries a little bit of weight, but you're going to see more guys come out because the UFC is a faceless machine now. So before, if you attack Dana White, you're going to receive some repercussions, stuff like that. He really doesn't drive the ship as much as he used to. So you're going to see more guys come out and talk shit. You see Anderson Silva talk shit because, I mean, you're literally, it's like when, if you're at Costco and they fuck up your order, and you go on Yelp, you're not talking shit you're talking to the machine. So people are going to be more willing to lash out. So it's a faceless identity now. So you're going to get more and more of this, man. It's only going to get worse. You're going to get more guys coming out, a la Al Iaquinta. You're going to get more and more stuff like that. But, a lot of this stems from this whole GSP Bisping debacle. Like, have you ever seen in your entire life them announce a fight with no date in mind?
I don't remember.
Never. We've seen that even on press conferences. Remember when they used to do the world press conferences? Like, this is what's coming up this year, and they had all the fighters. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember how cool all that was? They get bought out, and now it's like 2 days before UFC Fight Night Nashville. It's like, oh fuck, all right. Well, it's 2 days away. I guess I'll watch that. Mighty Mouse versus fucking this guy, Riaz. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah, okay. I guess I'll watch. Before, we kind of knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And they'd make big deals out of it. But those are the old days, guys. So there's just no more of that, which is a shame.
How would the UFC respond to something like this, where he's going to retire if they don't give him this fight?
You know what happens with all this? Nothing. They're going to do nothing. You're not going to be able to talk to anyone. That's why guys are so frustrated. That's why Al Iaquinta's lashing out. He's so pissed. It's been boiling up inside him for months and months and years. They didn't pay for surgery and this. And now you have this faceless business. And they're lashing out. You know what the UFC's doing? Nothing. They're going silent. WME's going, what? What are you talking about? All right. Well, okay. Frank Mir goes, dude, I'm having issues. Who should I call? Oh, we don't care. Retire. We don't care. And Silva, dude, if I don't fight him, I'm retiring. Cool, man. Good luck with everything. You sure? I'm Anderson Silva. Yeah, we don't really follow the sport. We don't know what's going on. So see ya. Al Iaquinta, top 10, top 10 55 in the world. Top 10, son. Or 45, sorry. Top 10. Told his boss to fuck off and go fuck yourself. Nothing. There's nothing that makes someone more frustrated when no one even acknowledges that. It'd almost be better if they acknowledge how pissed they are at him.
Yeah.
Nothing. You're in the machine now, my man. It's a bummer.
Big bummer indeed.
What else you got?
Speaking of calling into a show, I saw this interview too. Megan Megan Anderson was talking to Ariel Helwani.
Another Australian, man. Another dime piece Australian.
She looks. I didn't know she was this cute, especially even just a regular Skype picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super dimey. Super dimey down under.
She was talking about how she and Cyborg are the two top featherweights. They're not in the same organization, really.
They are, though. UFC owns both of them.
But I mean, like, she's not in the UFC yet. So she said that she's down for a fight with Cyborg. Cyborg called into the show, right? And then she was saying, like, yeah, I would fight you. And then Ariel trying to, like, I guess, instigate. And then
being Ariel.
And then Cyborg was, yeah, I'll fight you. And then Ariel's like pushing on Megan Anderson. Would you fight? Would you like, shake hands and do it now? You can kind of tell Megan Anderson was kind of like, fuck.
A little hesitant.
Yeah, of course I want to fight. But if you watch it, you can kind of feel as though she didn't want to necessarily say yes, even though she said yes in the past before.
Well, UFC 14's July, right?
214 July.
The Anaheim card, yeah. Right? Yeah, and we're doing a Big Brown Breakdown live at Laugh Factory in Long Beach the Friday night before the fight. Those tickets aren't on sale yet, but I just got confirmation this morning. Shout out to UFC 214 in Anaheim. Would love if that Megan Anderson was on there. She could also be saying like, "Yeah, I'm down to do it, man." And then when they go, "Cool, July," like, God, well, fuck, I need some time. I need a little bit of time. But so did she call him purposely to call out Cyborg?
No, I think it was just a regular interview.
And it was Ariel who did it.
Yeah, and then he said that Cyborg just randomly called in. Like she was listening to the show live and called in.
Interesting.
And then Cyborg did say something like, "Well, you said you wanted to fight me, but then your coaches said you weren't ready." Something like that.
And I love Cyborg, and I think she's the greatest female fighter on the planet. However, who are you to criticize someone for turning out a fight after her turning out 2 title fights? They made a new division for you, With Megan Anderson, I'm going to defend her here a little bit. I think.
Well, I mean, she didn't turn it down.
She didn't turn it down, but also it's like. If I get Ariel wants headline stuff like that, but it's also. You're putting her in a tough position. She calls in.
Yes.
She's in Invicta. She goes, I would be completely down to fight Cyborg. Oh, we have Cyborg on the line right now. How's fucking July 29th in front of everybody? Does that work for you? I'm not even in camp, man. I came out here just to talk. So you're little like, of course I'll fight her, but first of all, I need to talk to my management. What kind of, there's so many details. And this is, Ariel's never been a fighter, never was a fighter, probably hasn't been punched in that nose, so he has no idea what goes into this. The magnitude of that fight, granted she's not a household name here in America, but she's a big name in Australia. She's the Invicta champ right now. Cyborg's a big name. Cyborg's a big draw. But her contract's with Invicta. So they'd have to redo a contract. Now, if she always commits to this fight, they already know she's in it, so she's going to get lowballed. If she goes, I'm going to do it, but if you want me to fight Cyborg first, I know what kind of paydays that can be, I need this much. So you're not going to flash your cards. So for her, it's a good business move. For Ariel, it's kind of a dick thing to do, to be honest. There's so much more that goes into making a fight. Does Megan Anderson want to fight Chris Cyborg? 100%. Is she scared? Absolutely not. But if you're going to come over to the UFC and your very first fight's going to be against Cyborg, the best female fighter of all time that knocks girls out left and right, you better get compensated for it. Because where do you go after that? That's your first fight in the UFC?
Yeah,
the
that's
UFC
crazy.
From Invicta to the UFC is like going from Pee-wee football to the Pro Bowl. Hate to tell you, the production, the size of the crowd, you're fighting with some superstars, especially in Anaheim, the rest of the card on there. It's a different game, man. It's like you're on this kind of indie film, then boom, you're on Avatar 3, bitch. You're on that Avatar 3 set, and there's a lot of shit going on. You better carry your weight because you're going to get lost in the shuffle if not. So you better have your ducks in a row. So for Megan Anderson, to her defense, of course she would fight her. The numbers have to equal that. There's a whole lot of details that go into it.
Yeah, that was one of her stipulations too. She said, "Of course, I'd fight her, but it has to be."
Yeah, she's not scared. Right. No one's scared of anyone. I mean, if anyone's scared, I'd be scared of Cyborg. You know what? Frankly, she frightens me a little bit. If she came in right now, like, so what's up, girl? How you doing? I'd be very polite and watch my P's and Q's. And I'm a big dude. However, so I think there are some women who might be a little bit of cyborg. You're talking about a different league, but that's not a knock on female fighters. There's people who are obviously terrified of Ronda. She was in a different league at the time. There's people who are terrified of Chuck Liddell. There's people who are terrified of Mike Tyson. They're beat before they even got in the cage. They're just so much better than everyone. There's sprinters who are shitting their pants before they race against Usain Bolt because they're that much better than them. So, it's not a knock on anything to say that, that you're scared or anything like that. There's so many freaking factors that happen to make a fight of this magnitude. She's a champion in this other division. She doesn't have a UFC contract. I don't know who her management is, but I'm a fan. I'll tell you right now, the division needs this girl so bad, Megan Anderson. That division, listeners who are listening to the show right now, maybe you're balls deep in MMA. You fucking love MMA. Name 5 women fighters in the 145-pound division. Exactly. And now you have a very attractive girl, speaks well, has the skills to back it up, international star, champion from another organization. You know what I'm saying? They need her so bad. You have Holly Holm, who's on the 3-fight losing skit. She can go up and wait and fight that. You have Jermaine Durandamy, right? She can fight. Then you have Cyborg. You have 3 people in your weight class right now. And Holly's really not even a natural 45. This girl is, and she's a champion. Marketable, pretty, sponsorships up the ass, international, So again, she has all these, the chips are in her corner. For her to flash her cards and go, yeah, I'll take the fight, sign it. The UFC's going, cool, we got her. I think WME knows about Invicta and all this shit. They barely just figured out who Mousasi was. The fuck? Shout out to Megan Anderson. And I love that fight. Her versus Chris Cyborg. I hope it happens in Anaheim. But I hope she gets paid right. Hope she gets compensated to fight a woman of Cyborg's caliber. Everyone should be compensated. Ask a homegirl who got her fucking face bashed and flew down to Brazil that time. What was her name? The Cyborg's first fight in the UFC? She's the same girl who got her ear ripped off. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, but I can't think of her name.
God damn it, I'm drawing it too. Where you at, Alpha Brain? My fucking brain's not working today. It'll be the first one that pops up.
Oh, goodness gracious.
God damn it. Well, shit, so you just typed in Cyborg. You can get some weird shit. Justino?
Yeah.
There you go. Leslie Smith. Leslie Smith was her first UFC fight. Let me know how that worked out for her. You guys want to know? It lasted 1 minute and 21 seconds. She flew 14 hours to Brazil and got that ass whooped. Come on, son. You got to be taken care of financially, especially this day and age. That Reebok money they're getting, all this other stuff. Come on. What else you got?
You mentioned Chuck Liddell. So, on Anik and Florian podcast, Hackelman is longtime coach. That now he didn't say he's going to come back, but the headline says Chuck Liddell's UFC comeback depends entirely on opponent. He didn't say he's coming back, but he said that for a $3 million fight, it would. This is the coach speaking for Chuck. For a $3 million fight, it would have to depend on a certain person, and this particular person, he doesn't believe if he fought Chuck, it will be good for that guy. Like he's going to mess up his future. So I don't know who this person is that he's talking about, but he does have someone in mind for Chuck to fight.
I'll guess.
Okay.
Rampage Jackson.
Huh.
Because Rampage's next fight has to be in the UFC. But I don't know if Rampage would cut to 205. But other than that, at 205, what about Shogun? Shogun Chuck Liddell, old school.
Does it have to be in the UFC?
I would assume so. Can you imagine Chuck fighting anyone else?
Well, I mean, he just got fired, so I don't know.
He got fired as an employee.
Yeah.
As a brand ambassador, but I don't know what, because let's say 10 years from now, if I come back and I've got to fucking fire up my ass, I'm like, I want to fight in the UFC, I can't go fight for Bellator anymore. I mean, legally, I'm sure I could battle out in court and do all that shit. It's not worth it, but there are some loopholes with the beast. But for Chuck Liddell, they just freeze your contract into retirement. They unfreeze it when you come out.
Yeah, I forget if he even had. He must have still had a contract, right?
I'm sure.
And then
Liddell's 47. Last 1-5 in his last. Oof.
I'm a big fan. I would not want to see him come back for any amount of money.
I don't care who it is. I'm not trying to see that. I'm not trying to see that at all. Told you when I had dinner with Chuck, he was talking about how he thought he could beat John Jones still.
And he really believed it, right?
Oh, what? He was dead serious. Giving me pointers and game plans and shit. I mean, that's why he's one of the best ever. The guy, it just doesn't stop, But I just ate my goddamn sushi roll and kept my mouth shut because Chuck Liddell.
Legend.
If it was anyone else, I probably would have been like, what the fuck are you drinking? What, did you eat that fucking puffer fish that you're not supposed to? Like, why are you talking like this? But Chuck Liddell kept my mouth shut.
Wow, I can't believe John Jones.
Yeah, he's not fighting John.
No,
I don't think John would take
can't
that
believe
fight.
that he would say that he could beat John.
I think he said on the Fire and Kid podcast, too, this isn't breaking news. I think he said he thought he could beat him. But that's why he's one of the best of all time. What else you got? Shout out Chuck Liddell.
Let's see. Wanderlei Silva. So there's a card that was supposed to, he says there's a UFC card that's supposed to take place on June 24th. And it was for UFC. And they had actually moved it out of respect for Bellator's 180 card.
Not what I heard. Go ahead. Keep going.
Well, that's what he said. It's the Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Lee card. And it's now, and it's going to be on Sunday, the day after the June 25th card for UFC. But I looked around. I couldn't see whether or not it was even planned for June 24th or not, but maybe you have more information.
I mean, the UFC ain't bound down to anyone, especially Bellator. If anything, they would go head-to-head with them.
Even with that card?
100%. UFC don't fuck around. The only reason UFC would switch dates is because it would make them look bad on that card. Does that make sense? Because that UFC Fight Night would be going up against their huge Madison Square Garden card, correct?
Yeah.
That Madison Square Garden card, unless they went head-to-head with UFC 211, that Madison Square Garden Bellator card is going to wreck any UFC numbers.
That's
they
what I'm
put
saying.
on.
So
UFC, they were like, you know what? Out of the kindness of our hearts, we don't want to do this. We'll just move to Sunday. They went, fuck. We don't want to go head-to-head with them.
That's kind of
it's going to fuck up our ratings.
Yeah.
Move it to Sunday. That's what's going on. Come on, Wanderlei. This Michael Chiesa versus Lee? Huh? I mean, I like both fighters. They're great. What? I'd have to see the rest of the card, but again, it's in Oklahoma City. The fuck we talking about, man? Yeah, reschedule. No shit. You rescheduled. Let's just go through this Bellator card. First of all, Michael Chandler is better than anyone fighting on the UFC card that night. He's a bigger name. You got Fedor. You got Mitrione. You got Wanderlei Silva. You got Chael Sonnen. But the best fight is even on pay-per-view. It's on free Spike. It's the main fight on the undercard on Spike, which is two of the best 205ers in any organization in the world, which would be Ryan Bader and Phil Davis, which they fought in the UFC, but still. Just keep going through the card. So you got Douglas Lima versus Lorenz Larkin. And Larkin we're going to have on the show. You got Larkin versus Lima. What? For a title. So look, you have Chandler, Primus, title. Lima, Larkin, title. Mitrione, Fedor, obviously fun fight. Chael Sonnen, Wanderlei Silva, fun fight. Then you have Aaron Pico. Do you know who Aaron Pico is?
Yeah. Standout high school wrestler, right?
Collegiate wrestler too. Youngest ever to medal, and you're talking about an absolute phenom. He was a guy the UFC would love to have, and he actually ended up signing with Bellator. So it's Aaron Pico's debut, who's also coming on the show. Then you got Phil Davis, Bader. It's just a fucking. Then you got that Gallagher feller who's huge out there in Ireland kid versus Chinzo Machida. If you've never seen Lyoto Machida's brothers fight, you're missing out because this motherfucker is fun. Think of Lyoto Machida lighter and quicker and knocking dudes out the exact same, if not more kind of very strange kind of knockouts where you're like, Jesus Christ, ridiculous. That whole card, though, man, that whole card is a burner. So when they go, listen, UFC decide just take the ball and go over here because they don't want to steal anything away. Whoa. Don't get twisted. Don't shortchange Bellator like that. Bellator is pissing on that other card. Go to that fight night for me. Fight night, Oklahoma. There it is, Oklahoma City. Unless they sign Kevin Durant and he's fighting Westbrook, that bitch ain't beating anybody. What a fight that would be, huh? I'd tune into that. Well, Kevin Lee's the guy who's supposed to help Mayweather.
Yeah.
Let's just go through it real quick. Let me just scour over this. So your main event, you got Chizo versus Kevin Lee. Fun fight. Don't get me wrong. That's a fun fight. I'm interested in that. You got Tim Boetsch versus Johnny Hendricks. You know, it's not going to blow your hair back because Johnny Hendricks, former champ. Tim Boetsch lost his last fight. And remember, he lost to a few guys before that. But he's always tough. But he's obviously past his prime. Both guys are. You got Felice Herring, who I love to watch fight. Then you got... Look at my face right now. You got Little Nog versus Latifi. Get that shit on my face. And you got BJ Penn versus Dennis Seaver. And you got Clay Guida on the card too. So you got some, you just got some older kind of legends, you know? You got older BJ Penn versus Dennis Seaver is old. And then Latifi versus Little Nog is just, you know, I think Latifi knocked his face off. Clay Guida versus Eric Koch. Well, Koch has been gone for a while. It's a great card. It really is. That's a fun card. I will watch every single one of those. I'm not hating on it, but it does not stack up to obviously to the pay-per-view or even the undercard of the Bellator. You know, it's one for the Bellator guys, one for Team Bellator in this. But again, I will watch both and be balls deep into every one of them, and that card is actually very fun after I look at it. But it doesn't compare to the Bellator. I mean, why would it? You know, why would it? But you compare UFC 211 to this Bellator, you know, what else you got?
You ever recall them ever moving a card for Bellator outside of this?
I remember canceling a card because Chael Sonnen and Tito were fighting, and Bellator and UFC was supposed to be, I think, the same night, and they didn't have a headliner, and they didn't want to look bad, and remember when they yanked the card here in LA? They yanked the card because they didn't have a headliner.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Remember that?
Yes, now I do.
They're like, shit, boink, because you don't want to go stack. You want to be, you know, to compare it to fighting, you want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to have an injured fighter go in there and like, oh, what happened? Then you lose the fight. For them, they'd lose the ratings. So they're just like, yank it. Because it makes the UFC look bad. It's a good card, though.
Cool. So the Black Zillions, I thought they were gone, but they're still kicking. And they hired Antonio Tarver to step in as their striking coach or boxing coach.
What? Antonio Tarver teaches MMA striking now?
He can't teach striking, right? He can only teach the boxing.
When did he start teaching? What?
Very recently.
What? What's it say? Scroll down.
Well, it's a long one, but he said Glenn Robinson actually talked to him a while back.
Look at this. It's been a process to make it for some time, but Glenn Robinson reached out to me 3 weeks ago. We sat down, chopped it up. Next thing I know, I'm the head striking coach for MMA Black Zillions. Sir, have you ever watched MMA? Sure haven't. We'll figure it out. I'm glad to be working with these guys. Big splash. I never thought it'd be in MMA. Me neither. I thought it would be in the heavyweight division, but it is what it is right now. I'm just following my dream and footsteps, doing what I know what I can do. That's help fighters. It's always been in myself in this position. I didn't think it'd be MMA, but in boxing, though it's still the same thing. Definitely not, as I have a great opportunity to make a difference in these men's lives and help them reach their goals. I like that. Not only showing them teaching the sweet science, but also giving them confidence because I have been there. God, I don't like what I'm seeing here.
He made some lucid points when he was talking about gloves, even like there's just glove size, how much of a difference there is.
Night and day.
Yeah, so he did mention stuff like that. When they were talking about Conor versus Mayweather, how even just the gloves make a huge difference. Do you know what it's like to hold up, 10-ounce gloves for 12 rounds instead of 4-ounce gloves? It's completely different.
Different animal.
Yeah.
You have way more comfort in those boxing gloves, too. You can hide behind them and stuff like that. Listen, I hope it works out. I'm an Antonio Tarver fan. It's when you go from Henry Hoof one of the greatest mixed martial art striking minds in the game, and you replace him with a pure boxer, I don't know if it's the best move. I also don't know who the fuck's at Black Zillions anymore.
Neither do I.
Because Anthony Johnson left, right? Rashad left. Vitor, I don't know. Who's there?
Yeah. I think Tyrone Spong, but he's not even doing MMA.
I mean, he does. Remember, he was doing like some kickboxing and do MMA, I think, in Bellator. But yeah, I don't know.
He's trying to just do boxing now, I think.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's cool. I hope it works out. I'm not hating on the guy, but as far as and this is a guy who hired a pure boxing coach as a striking coach, but I was never a kicker or anything like that, and I regret that. And for them, the boxing stance, the angles, the gloves, and he has zero experience in MMA, it's trouble. Yeah. It's a little bit of trouble. I think it's great to supplement pure boxing in with your MMA training, but to have him as your head striking coach is trouble. It's just a different world. But I hope it works out. I'm sure he's open-minded. I don't know. What else you got?
Vitor Belfort, it's not official, but he said that his last fight, his retirement fight, will be on that Rio de Janeiro card, 212, against Nate Marquardt.
And I don't know if you know anything about Belfort and Marquardt. My boy Nate, the great Marquardt. They both got Jesus Christ's cell phone number. So it's going to be who prays harder. They're both, when I say this, they're both so religious. The most religious people that I know, obviously Tim Tebow. Nate is fucking right there. He is. I mean, it's Tim, then Nate's like, ew, man. If I have to give two people co-main event MVPs, co-MVPs, like Durant or like Westbrook and fucking Harden, if I have to do co-MVPs for Jesus Christ, it's Nate Marquardt, Tim Tebow, that's 1 and 2, and then Belfort, he got third. He got some votes from the press too. First team all Jesus Christ.
I don't remember Nate
like if
Marquardt
heaven's a club to get
anything.
in, I'm in the back looking, and those guys are they're getting in, they're VIP. They go in Sizzler in heaven.
Never knew.
Oh, what?
I never knew.
Oh my God. My word, son. And not that there's an issue with it. I'm just saying the thing that both these gentlemen have in common, besides being two legends, is Jesus Christ is in both their hearts.
It's going to be a tough one for Jesus that night then.
Not really. Jesus wins on both ends. But who loves Jesus more is going to determine the winner. Jesus can only pick one. Can't pick both. Whoever prays harder gets this win. That's so fucked up. Just kidding, guys. Love you both. I listen, when I saw this fight, I texted to Rogan, and I put, not mad at this. And I think for Nate, he doesn't have a ton of fights left at all. And this is Vitor Belfort's last fight. If it's both their last fight, they're two legends. They're the co-main events or just on the card. So they're you have Jose versus Max Holloway, which is the main event, which is a ridiculous fight. You have Anderson Silva versus, who knows, the co-main event. Then you have Vitor Belfort versus Nate Marquardt. You have Claudia Gadeja on there. It's a great card, especially in Brazil. I like the fight. They're both older. They're both past their prime. It's just kind of shit. If you wanted that kind of Masters League, there you go. That's what you get. That's why I like the fight. It's not like Nate's fighting, some young dude, or Vitor's fighting, some super young guy like Kelvin. Nate's not fighting a Kelvin. They're both super vets, and they're both past their prime. That's why I like the fight.
I just thought of is they were both on TRT.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But Nate Marquardt, he seems to always have the same physique.
He's a freak.
Right?
Nate's a freak. Nate, he's been fighting since he was 17. Wow. And obviously he got his knock on him when in Pittsburgh when he was supposed to fight Story and got yanked because his testosterone levels. But Nate, I started with Nate. Nate was the first gym I walked in, and from when he was on TRT and when he's not. I'm not saying it didn't help him, but he's always just been this freak athlete. People will chalk it up. I'm like, oh, it's TRT. It's not. Do me a favor. If you think that, go take TRT. Let me know how your body looks and go try to jump a 40-inch vertical and go try to dunk a basketball. Go try and throw the kicks and do all this stuff or finish Tyrone Woodley like fucking Nate Marquardt did. Let me know if TRT does that for you. It's not all that. I hate when people chalk it up to that. So.
Good stuff. Want to do one more?
Sure.
All right. Twitter. It's looking to have UFC. It's possibility. It's not happening for sure, but it's a possibility that it might be a live streaming application for UFC. They might actually have UFC on there.
Because they used to have football. They have football, right?
So they have
like
NFL.
Thursday nights?
Yeah, Thursday night NFL, but I think it's the contract or whatever is going to be done.
It's a lot of money.
In the end of this year because Amazon took over.
Oh,
Amazon
wow.
bought it.
Shit. Does anyone watch the games on their phone?
That's what I wanted to ask
I would never
you.
do that. Well, the other night when I was in Austin at that comedy festival, we were at dinner and I wanted to watch the fights with Al Iaquinta and all that stuff and Cub Swanson. So we had it on our phone. My brother somehow got on his phone because his Dish network, what he uses, can connect to his phone. So we did that. But other than that, I'm not watching any fight on my phone. I don't see the payoff on it.
And I don't even know, how do they even watch it with NFL? So the Twitter just has like a little thing on top. Because, I don't use Twitter.
Well,
so.
Twitter has the moments. I think you can go to there and it says, say like 49ers versus Chicago Bears. You can click on it. And
there you go then.
I think that's it. I wonder what their ratings are like.
Well, it's Twitter, so at the very least.
True, but you could get views and stuff, right? Viewership?
They were saying that whenever... and there's anything a live event for UFC, a pay-per-view event, then Twitter just blows up.
Oh,
with
yeah.
People looking for results and everything
our
else.
sport started on social media. What got the UFC to where it's at is social media and the fighters and the UFC interacting with fans. That's the roots of the UFC. If you did this 5 years ago, brilliant idea. Now, with the UFC's relationship and the road they're going down, I don't know if it's as big as a hit. But if it's good for business, gets more eyeballs to the UFC, I'm all about it. But I don't know how those things work out via Twitter. Mm-hmm. But obviously, if they're paying all this money for it, it must be pretty good for them. And, and the UFC is a heavy, more so than any other league in the world as far as social media based. That's the UFC. So it's a perfect fit. I like it.
Cool.
All right, man. Well, the next time you'll be hearing this sweet, sweet voice, I'm driving to Universal Studios with Chin, and we will be interviewing the great and beautiful Mario Lopez, the businessman in show business. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy Mario Lopez. We good?
We good.
I'm live? We're good? With the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mario Lopez.
What's going on, man?
What's up, brother? The busiest guy in entertainment.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I feel like it right now. A little overworked and underslept, but I'm looking forward to sitting down talking with you. What's going on?
Not much, man. We've been trying to make this happen for a while, and I thought I was busy, and then your assistant was like, listen, this is Mario's thing. I'm like, oh, damn. Yeah, we'll make it work, man. Just let me know what I need to do.
We got this half hour. Let's squeeze it. I know you wanted to squeeze it in before the Canelo-Chavez fight.
Yeah, because, I have a lot of friends who are in entertainment, and everyone thinks they're tough guys, or no fighting, stuff like that. But when it comes to you, it's different because you actually you talk the talk, obviously, because you know fighting with your background, but you know it really, really well. Like we have your co-host on the 3 Knockdown Rule.
Right, Steve Kim.
Yeah, with Steve, we did. I was the color analyst on a Shane Mosley fight.
Okay.
And so me and him started talking. He's like, dude, you got to get with Mario because you guys, you're very similar. He knows the game. I'm like, does he though? And he's like, look into it. So I started listening to your guys' show. And then your knowledge with Canelo and Chavez, stuff like that. So that's how this kind of came about.
Right
man.
on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, man.
So,
well, thank you.
Yeah. So with you this weekend, obviously big weekend, Cinco de Mayo, Canelo-Chavez Jr. Some people think it's going to break pay-per-view numbers. Are you a guy where, and I can't wait to get in this because from my understanding, you're a Chavez, obviously Chavez fan, but are you a Chavez Jr. supporter? Because there's a difference between loving his father, who's the greatest Mexican boxer of all time, and then loving his son.
Right. I actually know both fighters pretty well. both personally and have been in their training camps. And I really do like them both a lot. Chavez Jr. used to train out of Wild Card Boxing Club where I train over with Freddie Roach, and that's when he looked the best. That's when he captured the middleweight division, and that's when he looked the sharpest. I wish he could have been out there this go-around, but I don't know whether it was the visa issues, what they were saying, or he was butting heads with his old man because he wanted him there. But he ended up with Nacho Beristain, and we're going to see how it all plays out. Still a little concerned about the weight, which we can get into. But I like Junior on a personal level. Obviously, his dad is someone I really looked up to, and since I was a kid watching him fight, I mean, I named my dog after him.
There you go.
My dog's name is Julio Cesar Chavez Lopez, and the father is just as cool as you would think. When you look up to someone and then you finally meet him, and they say never to meet your heroes because you might be disappointed, but he's just as cool. And the kid is cool. How the kid turned out to be 6'1" and so big when the dad's only coming in like 5'7", it's beyond me. But they're both cool, and I think the kid, obviously, you can't. The natural fighting ability, like the senior was a born fighter, and it comes so naturally for him. The kid's got to put in a lot more work, and that's been a lot of the concern is the lack of discipline sometimes when he's in there. But when he does get in there, he has provided for very memorable moments, exciting fights. He's got balls. He's got a great chin. He's got that nice hook to the liver like his old man. Mm-hmm. But he's not his old man, so it's hard measure to live up to. But he has captured some titles, and he's done pretty well for himself.
Well, what I find interesting is with Chavez Jr. is the pressure's on him, because I don't feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't feel like the Mexican culture stands behind him because he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. That's fair to say, right? Well, even though he's 50-2 and he has this great record, and he lost Sergio Martinez, he's had some rough losses to tough name opponents, but he's a far cry from Canelo when it comes from the support from the Mexican audience.
Well, at this point, I mean, they both fought on a pay-per-view card a few years back. I was in town and I actually went to go see Chavez Jr. when he fought Sergio Martinez. My buddy Knuckles over here was there too, as a matter of fact. And
shout out to Knuckles.
Yeah, shout out. What's up? And then Canelo had a fight, I believe, that same night with Josecito Lopez. And at the time, he was the bigger star. Very dramatic, almost Mildred Taylor-like finish there. But since then, I think a lot of the raza, a lot of the Mexican community sort of started getting frustrated and angry with his lack of discipline and his approach to taking it serious. And so that's what started to sort of slip. They still remained, I think, loyal because when he did fight, he was in there, he fought with a lot of heart.
Yeah, it's all there.
It's all there. It was just more of a lack of discipline and weight issues and being lazy. But, there's a lot of pride at stake coming this weekend. So he can win everyone back in a big way with a good showing. And I think this past weekend with Klitschko and Joshua, which was an excellent fight.
Best fight I've seen in a long time.
I think every fighter should take note that you don't necessarily have to win to have your stock go up. I think Klitschko's performance was one for the ages, where he gained a lot of respect, and both those fighters came out shining. And I think that both of their value went up. So as long as you put it out there and you fight with all your heart and give it all you got, then I think it'll be appreciated, and even if your hand isn't raised.
I agree with that. I think with Chavez and Canelo, if it's back and forth balance like an epic fight, then both their stock raises. If Chavez goes out there and let's say he gets stopped to a body shot in the 8th or 9th round, and because he's not old, like Klitschko's 42, so we're like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. It's a great fight. But if Chavez loses this, it's not. I'm not saying it's the end of his career, but it's definitely not good.
Well, I don't know. I think if he gives an effort and a performance much like Klitschko, I think his performance or his stock can go up, and I think there would even be a clamor for a second fight, and you can
agree.
You can schedule it around the next Mexican holiday, which is September 16th. And, Triple G can always wait. But it depends. It depends. I don't see it going the distance. I think the weight's going to be a big issue. He's a big kid. He's making this weight. He hasn't made it in years. I think he's going to be a shell of himself. I think Canelo's looking stronger than ever. I was at his camp. Actually sparred with him. He's built and looking like a little Mike Tyson right now.
He looks like a tank.
So he's looking stronger than ever, and you're going to have a very weak individual in Chavez. I would have liked to have seen what would have happened without these weight concerns, and both of them at their natural weight. I think still Canelo's more fundamentally sound and better technical fighter, and he's continued to improve. But Chavez has a lot of attributes with a strong chin, very tough. He's got his physical advantages. So, it could even out.
How was your round sparring with Canelo?
Man, I caught him.
Like, how's that go down? Because you're obviously always in the gym, and they're like, Mario, jump in here and get around with Canelo.
Well, no, it was scheduled because De La Hoya happens to be a friend of mine, and so we were doing a little shoot, interviewing him, and getting a little preview for my show. And I'm going to be hosting the weigh-in coming up this weekend for ESPN, and then Oscar's going to come by, and we're going to do a whole thing for Cinco de Mayo.
Love it, man.
For my show, and then they said, hey, if you want to get in the ring with Canelo prior, and I said, yeah, I'll get in. I didn't think, party the night before. Not that would have made a difference. I'm just saying I would have been able to receive the blows a little bit better. But it was cool. We did 3-4 rounds, and he was really cool, real helpful. But he's so sharp 3 weeks out. Going 50%. I mean, those are some heavy hands, and it's hard. You know how it is. You can't sort of play fight. You can't. Your counter punches and timing is what it is, and you're taking blows in there. So, it hurts no matter what.
Well, the problem is the pressure's not on you; it's on Canelo because, I've been in there with some guy, especially when I was getting ready for camp. They bring in a guy, and I mean, it's not like you're new to it where you're messing around and just playing you got to watch your P's and Q's because you've boxed for a while. So it's not like Canelo can just play grab ass in there if you're going full go.
But at the same time,
there's also an agreement.
Right. Well, it's a world-class elite, a different level, which is really cool just to kind of see. So it's just like a real treat for me, an honor to kind of just kind of be in there with him, which is a lot of fun. And, I've had the opportunity to be in with a lot of guys and looking forward to getting in there with Triple G, who's invited me. Kovalev's even invited me, which is fun. And so that's just sort of like a perk.
Kovalev would scare me. He killed a guy.
Well, yeah, but those guys, they're all real nice guys and they're all class acts and they don't have anything to prove. It's the guy who thinks he's tough going into the gym. Those are the kind of guys you want to be in.
Correct.
But sometimes they're so slick that just almost reflexes with a little body shot, even if 50% is going to hurt.
So you went from Canelo's camp and then you jump into Cesar.
Well, Chavez has been training in Mexico this time around, but I've been around in his camp when he was training for the Wild.
How are they different?
Chavez likes to take his time in his training. He likes to take his time, and he's very, very chill. There's not much sense of urgency where Canelo's it's regimented. He's like a Marine. So, it's pretty much what you would think it would be as far as
that's not good. Yeah. Have you seen, and so probably a month ago, if we would have had this sit down and someone asked me to predict the fight, I would have said Chavez Jr. I gave him a slight edge early on because size, and I feel like he has tools that a lot of people don't see. He can sit on the outside box, stuff like that.
But he doesn't fight that way. He doesn't
because
use
his dad.
Well, he doesn't
There's
use
pressure
those
on
tools.
him.
Yeah, well, he doesn't just use those tools to his advantage, or maybe he's trying to emulate his dad, and he's been successful with it. But he is a tall kid, lanky kid. He doesn't use his jabs.
But it's there, Mario.
Yeah,
that's
I know,
my point.
But he doesn't. But you can't, force a square peg into a round hole. It sort of is. He is what he is, and so you're not going to change him
because of the pressure of his father.
Well, I don't know so much the pressure of his father. I think that's what he saw. That's what he's used to. Other trainers he's been that body style, right? Ever since he was a kid, tall, long, and lanky. But he wants to get in there and mix it up, and it seems to come natural. So I don't know if it's the pressure of his father or just genetically he's more predisposed to it.
Maybe. I just feel like the skills are there. We could use it to his advantage. If there's any time to use those skills, it'd be footwork, stay on the outside now with Canelo. Because when you go in close like that, that's Canelo all day.
Well, that's Chavez all day, too, though. They both play to their strengths. But, yeah, Canelo, you would have to give him the edge just because physically, his arms are shorter. They're gonna get there.
For sure. And power and opponents and, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, but Chavez, too, has had high caliber of opponent, whether it's Martinez.
Not as high.
Well, I don't know. I mean, but bigger guys, too. You got to remember, Canelo's never been fought this high before either. And Fonfara, when he fought him, that's a big boy.
That was too much for him. I don't know why he took that fight. He's way too big for him.
It was too big for him. So I can't see him getting hit much harder than that, much bigger man. So we're going to see what he has to. But I think it all comes down to the weight. I think
I was going to say he's also didn't cut weight that much for that fight.
Pardon me?
The weight cut wasn't as severe as this one is.
Right. No, exactly.
Have you been following him on Instagram? Like he's, they're posting like every 3 days, like getting there, and he's like, it looks like he's slowly just depleting his body.
First of all, whoever's posting for him overposts.
I agree.
It's
too much, man.
It clogs up your timeline, man. I know that's not him, but yeah, he didn't. He looked very thin. And listen, I hope he makes the weight somehow, and he's still strong, and he's able to rejuvenate and feel 100%, so it can be a better fight.
Did you happen to see the sit down with Max Kellerman? They call the 1-on-1 on HBO.
No, I haven't.
Have you seen that yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
I was like kind of team Chavez Jr. And then when you watch that, I was like, I'm full Canelo now. I sway very easily, man.
Well, apparently. Why?
Yeah, apparently. Because when you watch it, obviously Max Kellerman's job is to kind of get kind of the trash talking going. And so Canelo's speaking just in Spanish and Chavez Jr. speaking just in English. And he won't. Yeah, how weird is it? And he won't look Canelo in the eye. And Max Kellerman goes, what are the kind of the downfalls of Canelo? And he goes, well, I don't say this, but this is what the Mexican culture says. And then you go, but I don't say that. Everything's all good. Right. And then they ask Canelo, and he looks freaking Chavez dead in the eyes and just wait till you see it. Boom, boom, boom. And then goes, you know what? Yeah. Max Kellerman goes, yeah, do you think you're going to knock Canelo out? And Chavez goes, it's boxing. I never know. Canelo stops him and goes, no, I heard in an interview you said you're going to stop me in the 8th. You really think you're going to stop me in the 8th? And he goes, this is all in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, even though my girl's Spanish. He puts his hand on and goes, I will bet you my entire purse that I knock you out. I guarantee you I knock you out. And then you can tell Canelo's just like, Chavez like, okay, shakes his hand. And it's just so.
Yeah, there's some real machismo shit going on.
Yeah, it's some real ego shit going on.
Yeah, dude, listen, I dare you to find me a fight where there's two Mexicans in there that's never been boring. And then especially two Mexicans that don't like each other, then it's going to be really, I think, entertaining for however long it lasts. So.
I feel like Chavez likes him, but Canelo doesn't like him.
I think
because to where we started, I don't think the pressure's on Chavez Jr. here. On Canelo, he's the face of Mexico. It's up to Chavez to take care of this.
Well, I mean, it's his one shot to sort of win everyone back. But I mean, Canelo's the one that's got the big fight with Triple G looming, so I would disagree and say that the pressure's really on Canelo. Chavez at this point really doesn't have. He's already sort of disappointed a lot of fans, it's more of like his last saving grace, last chance to fight at this level. So he's got to show. I don't think he necessarily even has to win. He has to make it competitive, and he has to give a Klitschko-esque type performance.
I can see that. I can see that a little bit, kind of, man. I think it's one for the ages. The other thing is, I said this, I think Anthony Joshua is the biggest name boxer right now. If you look at the numbers, you look at everything internationally, globally, he's the biggest boxer. And then I was arguing with people on social media, which is never smart. And they go, well, no, Canelo sold out Dallas Cowboys Stadium, which isn't true. When he sold it out, they only released 50,000 tickets. He didn't sell out the 100,000-seater Dallas Cowboys. But
you got to remember, that was against a guy from Britain no one knew. So
True.
That's still
he sold 100 tickets.
That's still very, very impressive. But, I think Joshua, after this last weekend, for sure, he's top 2, and if not, number 1. And, of course, there's heavyweight boxing, and then there's everything else. But I think, that kid's got a big career ahead of him.
Do you think Canelo Chavez could sell out like 100,000-seater in Mexico?
Yeah,
Why not do that?
I think because just economically now, I think it's when these casinos start offering you a bunch of dough, you kind of, it's like The Godfather. They make you an offer you can't refuse. But I think if they wanted to, it would have rivaled his dad, who sold out Azteca Stadium with 130,000. And that's when he fought Greg Haugen. I remember watching that fight. And I think this could have easily probably sold out there.
Yeah, I feel like they could do well, but they choose to do it at T-Mobile. I'm assuming it's because of Golden Boy and the other promotions, stuff like that. Contractually, they can't do it at those live venues.
Well, it's not that they can't. They've got license fees, and then the casinos come. It's just big money that they're getting. So it's kind of hard to walk away from guaranteed money.
That makes sense. So can I get a prediction out of you? Or because you're working for it, you're going to play both sides?
I should sort of stay bipartisan, right? But I think it's gonna. I'll say this: I think it will be exciting for as long as it lasts, and I think it should last till about the 8th or 9th round with a stoppage.
I like that.
So
I like Canelo by stoppage from body shots in the 9th or 10th.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that necessarily.
Before we get you out of here, are you a UFC fan too?
I am. I'm a big UFC fan, and I respect all combat sports, and they're my favorite. I think fighters in general, purest form of sport. It's raw, it's real, no team, no equipment. It's all you in there. You find out what you're about. And recently I started taking up about a few months back now jiu-jitsu, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up wrestling, and it's very different, but I got my son into it.
Oh, nice.
And I kind of wanted to learn along with him.
Yeah.
And I really like it.
How old is he?
It's cool. He's 3.
See, I think he's the best.
Believe it
He's
or not.
young, but just super young.
He's but guess what? He's already got a couple stripes in him. He knows how to mount, side control. It's good to get with the body awareness and control, and
it's a good martial art too, especially
great.
when they're young.
Sure, the discipline,
it's different
everything
than
offers.
taekwondo or karate or something like that. Like they actually have fun and learn something.
Right, exactly. So I'm having fun learning it too.
Are
so
you?
Yeah, I really am. So I really like
Are you
it.
in a gi or no gi?
No, in a gi.
You're in a gi full
They
time.
have in a gi, the whole deal. Just got another stripe the other day. So I really like it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going today. They have a no gi class on Monday, but I want to get a little bit more fundamentals under me. But it's hard being a wrestler and certain habits, and I'm not used to just being comfortable on my back yet. But
No wrestler is.
So weird,
but
man,
I'm
trying to get there.
If you did no gi, usually wrestlers, they have really good base. So no gi, you're going to flourish a little more, especially early on.
Oh, good. Well,
Like there's a lot of wrestlers, especially back in the day, like Randy Couture against Jacare, where they're not black belts because the wrestling foundation with no-gi, they can do work against high level guys.
Yeah, no, it's encouraging to see a lot of these guys who have great wrestling backgrounds, whether Cain Velasquez, Cormier, all these guys, Couture, like you said, all these, and the list goes on, that are able to transition and be successful and adapt. So, it's cool. But yeah, big fan, UFC as well.
Are you a fan of the Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor stuff going on?
That is such a
Mixing
farce
both
and such
worlds.
an embarrassment. I'm a fan of
Why you say that?
Because it's a joke. I'm a fan of
Joke
creating
how?
big events because come on, is that a real question? Because just as Floyd was fair in the octagon, it's not. I would say, I'd venture to say that whoever is ranked in the top 50, I think would be able to.
To beat Conor?
To handle Conor.
In a pure boxing match.
Well, of course. That's what we're talking about.
We're not, though, Mario.
Floyd's
We're not.
not getting in the octagon.
No. I know that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Well, what's that we're talking? I thought we were talking boxing.
We are. What I'm saying is Conor's not going to move and mimic like a traditional boxer. It's going to be a shit show. I agree with you. It's going to be weird.
Right.
But Conor's not going to stand there with the close distance with his gloves up. And it's not going to be a traditional boxing kind of fight.
Then he'll just get exerted. Floyd will figure out his timing, give him a couple feints, and he hasn't had a knockout in years. He will knock him out.
You think he's going to knock him out?
Oh, my God. I don't
Mario.
even think it's so and by the way, it's not even like I'm a big Floyd fan. I'm just trying to keep it real.
Fan.
I'm a boxing fan. I'm just trying to keep it real.
I'm keeping it real too. And what I'm saying is Conor's way bigger. You've seen Floyd.
And I like Conor. I think he's a very talented fighter, but it's just a whole nother look, dude. Michael Jordan went to go try to play baseball, couldn't make it out of Triple A. I mean, it's just a whole nother.
I agree with
Tim
you.
Tebow right now it's just a whole.
Tim's doing pretty
deal.
well, but
not really.
He's doing pretty well at the level he's at.
At the level he's at, whether he's going to see the show, it's a whole nother thing.
You got to.
You're talking about one of the
though.
best defensive fighters
How
of
old
all
is
time.
He? How old is he?
Dude, this guy doesn't party, doesn't drink. Floyd 10 years from now would take him out.
No,
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Mario.
Sugar Ray Leonard right now. What is he? 50 something would take him out.
No, he wouldn't.
Yes, he would.
Mario, you're thinking
Dude,
of traditional boxing, brother.
Well,
if they both
that's
stand
not
there.
what we're talking about.
No, but he's not going to come at him like a boxer.
He could come out him however way he wants. He
No.
could come out him. He could. What's he going to do in the ring that these guys haven't seen? He could come out him as any style he wants. It's not going to be.
Mario,
not gonna make a
listen,
difference.
listen to me. So all I'm saying is the distance in MMA is about from me to you. In boxing, I can be way closer and still get away with it. Conor's not in the angles, so he fights traditional and southpaw. He's left-handed. He's a bigger guy.
You actually
He's
think
faster.
to be competitive?
Hold on. I think Floyd.
God.
No, hold on. I think Floyd wins, but it's by decision. I think it goes all 12 rounds, and that's actually a win for MMA.
Yeah, I respectfully disagree. I think
You think he knocks him out?
I think it's a farce. I think it's a joke to even discuss. But I think the fact that
It's happening, sir.
like I said, I'm supportive of big events. Of course, I'll watch, but I think it'll be a shit show when it does. And I think Floyd absolutely embarrasses him and knocks him out. Not even a question. And I'm not even coming from like I'm a Floyd fan. I'm just keeping it real.
Most people do, and I wholeheartedly disagree with this.
I've never even spent this much time talking about it because it's so dismissive.
But it shouldn't be because.
And I can't even imagine like somebody
You're talking
McGregor's
to
weight
other
like
boxers.
a Canelo. That would be Canelo Packet. That would be embarrassing.
I agree. I agree, brother. Canelo McGregor, terrible fight. McGregor Floyd, who's a counterpuncher, who's smaller, who's 42.
Right. He's a counterpuncher, and as soon as and those counterpunches will.
Well, they're going to do what? He hasn't done shit. And when's the last time he knocked someone out?
Yeah, those are against top caliber fighters, though, not against a guy who's just trying to fight as a hobby.
He's not fighting as a hobby. He's a top caliber fighter in a different league.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And he's way bigger, though, Mario.
Oh, my God. I'd be happy to make any bet you'd like.
Me too.
Any bet you'd like.
When it goes down, all right, I'm going to text you, man.
Fair enough.
All right, fair enough. Agree to disagree, brother.
Okay, no, I'm looking forward to it.
I enjoy the conversation.
You're probably right. Let's bet. We're going to bet on it.
Let's do it. Whatever you want, man.
Whatever you want.
Lay some money on the line or whatever you want. But
the sum, nay it. That's so funny.
Done, man. I love this.
I like it.
Well, I know you're busy, man, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
You got it, man.
I really do. Really, really do.
Thank you.
And have a great time out there. Cinco de Mayo, Canelo-Chavez Jr., and you're hosting on ESPN, and you're just doing the dang thing, man. So,
all right, man. All right.
Appreciate the time, Mario.
You got it. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, brother. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The busiest man in entertainment, and also I would put down top 3 toughest guys in entertainment. He walks the walk. He talks the talk. He trains his ass off. He knows a truckload about boxing and just fighting in general. He's a real student of the game. One of my favorite, one of my favorite guys to come on. The Big Brown Breakdown. Mario Lopez has been a long time coming. I'm glad to have him on. Check out his podcast. I think it's the three knockdown rule, where he gets pretty into boxing. He knows his stuff, and obviously you can catch him all over the place on all the shows he does and things like that. So we appreciate the time with Mario Lopez. And if you guys are listening to us Wednesday night, I'm back at the Ice House. There are very few tickets left. I just want to sell this bitch out because it's the least I can do for them giving a guy like me a chance to perform. So get tickets, tfatk.com. Ice House Wednesday night. We're bringing comedy. We'll break down UFC 211. Canelo-Chavez fight. There's a lot to talk about. It's going to be a good time. Chin will be there. We will have the sold-out Big Brown Breakdown Roots of Fight Collab available at the venue. It's the only way to get them now. So we say with some aside for the live shows. And this is the last live show that I'm doing with these tees. So if you're into that tee and you didn't get one, get a ticket to the Ice House, tfatk.com, and then also in person you can buy the Roots of Fight collab for the fight this Saturday. The mega fight. Again, for anything you need supplement-wise, onnit.com, promo code is Big Brown. Young and Reckless, promo code is Fighter. Everlast.com, promo code is Fighter. I love you guys. Thanks for listening. You guys make this worthwhile. I appreciate all the positive feedback and the interaction on social media. I love you guys. I'm Brendan Schaub, bigger, badder, browner. I'm out.